So this section of the course, and this module specifically related to data analysis, has a lot of information that hopefully is going to be practically useful in your role, whether that's a current role or a future role, doing data analysis and assessment. So I want to talk about the extra credit opportunity that we have here. If you'll download the value-added exercise for Module 6, the LibQual 2004 Open Data Workbook, and the Qual Content Analysis Workbook, I'm going to talk you through those and hopefully help you understand some simple things that you can do. So if we look at the value-added first exercise on descriptive analysis, we're going to do some analysis of a data set in an Excel workbook to get us some basic descriptive information so we can tell a little bit of the story about this particular library. The data that we're using is an openly shared data set. You can see the link here. And what we want to do is, using this data set, answer the 7 questions below. This data is from a library survey that was created to find user feedback about the quality of service at the library. You can see if we look at the data set, there are 7 columns. Those are variables: user ID, discipline name selected by the user, they're telling us what discipline they're in, the user group name, what is their status, are they an undergraduate, a graduate, faculty member, or staff member, sex, either male or female, their evaluation on a scale of 1 to 9 of their satisfaction in their treatment by the library, and their, again, evaluation, this is an ordinal variable, on a scale of 1 to 9 on their support by the library, and then their overall quality rating of that library. And again, this is a 1 to 9 scale. So if we look at our questions, the first question is, how many users responded to the survey? There's a couple of ways we can find that out. One is to click on any column. You can see column G here. I've selected this column. And if you go down to the bottom of the screen, it tells me the count of the number of selected cells that contain data is 797. Now, the one thing about Excel, it's counting every row that has data, which also includes this first row, which is our header information or our variable names. So we're going to want to subtract 1 from that count of 797, which gives us 796. Another way to do this is to create a pivot table. So if I select the top left cell and select Control A, I will then select every cell in this table that has data from top left to bottom right. And what I want to do with this is insert a pivot table. Now, a pivot table is going to allow me to do some good analysis of this data using each of the variables either together or separately. You can see we've selected the table LibQual 2004 Open Data. That's this worksheet. And the data in cells A1 through G797. And I want my pivot table to be placed on a new worksheet. So I say OK. Now, in this worksheet, I'm going to broaden this out a little bit. I've got my pivot table over here and my pivot table fields on the right. You can see there's nothing displaying. This is where it's going to sit when I'm done. Now what I want to know is how many users completed this survey. So if I just select, if I click that, it says sum of user ID. Well, that is the sum of 485,615 plus 485,939. It's thinking those are numbers and not actually text fields. So what I want to do is go down here to values. It says sum of user ID. Select value field settings, count, OK, and now I have 796. So we have 796 users responded to this survey. So I'm going to name that worksheet user total. And now we've answered the first question. 796. Next question is, from which 3 disciplines did we get the most number of survey responses? If we go back to our data set, we can see there's a couple of ways to do this. We could click on the column for discipline name, go up to data, and say filter. Sort them A to Z. We'll expand the selection. We want to have all of our data. And we can sort them, and we can see here, I could count them. So I could select all of these cells, these rows, down to where Applied Sciences stops, and count 77 rows. Or I can do a Control A. Again, you can do Control A from anywhere. I typically do it from top left. Control A, insert pivot table, and again, all my data on a new worksheet. Yes. Now I want to know discipline name. So if I click discipline name, I can see here are all the disciplines that were available to be chosen, and there's a blank as well. I also want I want not just the names of the disciplines, but I want their values. So if I drag discipline down to value, it defaults to count. So now I can see how many times each discipline name was selected. What I want to know is my top 3 disciplines. So in this first cell, I'll right-click, sort, largest to smallest, and now all of the data in this table is sorted largest to smallest. My top 3 are here: Health Sciences, Applied Sciences or Engineering, and Other. Now one thing this tells me when I start thinking about the big picture of assessment in this project in particular is that 55 people, my 3rd largest group, selected Other. So what do I not know about the disciplines that are available in this community? Maybe I need to add some options if I want to do this survey again, if the data about what discipline is truly relevant to what I'm trying to learn. So when I look at disciplines, my top 3 again: Health Sciences, Applied Sciences, and Other. So now I can go back and answer that second question. The third question is, what is the average overall rating for the quality of library service? So again, if I go back to my data set, overall quality rating is in column G. If I select column G, again, you can see down at the bottom, the average of all the selected cells is 7.1, 7.09. It's an easy answer to that question. Excel has provided a lot of good tools. Or we can say, insert pivot table. Again, that data, new worksheet, please. And I want to know the overall quality rating, not the sum, value field settings. I want to know the average, 7.096. Now one thing as I look at this, I want to look at my number format. And I want to have no decimals, 7. So the average is 7. Or I can go back to my value field, number format, and let's say I want 1. And it's 7.1. So on a scale of 1 to 9, my users have chosen to say that this library is a 7.1. So we're going to say, call this average quality, and this was responses by discipline.